Good morning, everybody. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, or whatever you all celebrate. I am, of course, Dom of X, finally getting the ball rolling and fixing the problem that was very prevalent last month, but YouTube has worked with me to assure that it won't happen again. And of course, I am joined by my wonderful friend, Kurtis of DC, the Finest DC channel and the Epic Marvel podcast. How are you doing today? Merry late Christmas to you, my friend.
Yeah, Merry late Christmas to you too, Dom. Did you get anything comic book related in your stockings or under the tree today or this week?
I actually did, but interestingly, it was from my boss Omar who sent me over a copy of Aquaman by Peter David. That
Oh,
is, yeah, and I was like, man, most wonderful person ever. But we're not here to talk about Omar. We're here to talk about the. How about you, my friend? Did you get anything comic related for Christmas?
I did not get any books. I tell you, it's hard to buy books for me just because my family's like, oh, well, we don't know what you already have, and which is fair because there's a lot. But I did get some really nice Peanuts socks,
Ooh,
which was really good.
who's
That's, I think, the only.
who were on
Hmm?
it? Like which
Well,
characters?
it was a pack of seven pairs. So like one had Snoopy, one had Charlie Brown, one had Woodstock. I think three or four of them had Snoopy actually. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's cute. I
it
love
was really
that.
great. And that's the only comic book related thing that I got. Everything else was other stuff, which was good.
Nice. That's a
Yeah.
wonderful Christmas, or at least for the stocking stuffers, as they say. But like he said, we all hope that you had a wonderful holiday season, and we'll continue to have that as the new year is 4 days away, which it feels like it's been a whirlwind. But I feel like that's every single year. Like the year starts off, you finally get used to writing whatever the year is, and then once you get used to it, then the calendar flips over, and
Yeah.
that everything else of the sort. I also want to announce today. I want to say hello to everybody. Chat real quick. Well, right after the announcement, we are giving away a copy of two DC Finest to one of you lucky members in chat who might not have these yet. The first one, of course, is the DC Finest Batman Year 1 and Year 2. This contains the post-crisis Batman and Detective Comics issues, along with an annual that was also thrown along in here, a Batman Annual number 11. So you will get to read the epicness of Frank Miller, Mike W. Barr, and Max Collins, and so many other awesome creators who are in this book. And I also want to say that we are also giving away a copy of DC Finest Superman, the first superhero, which contains the 1938 to 1940 issues of Superman, which contains the Action Comics Superman and the New York World's Fair Comics issue number 1 from, again, the Golden Age. And all you have to do to enter is hashtag finest Batman in for the chat for Batman, or finest Superman for Superman, all one word. James luckily has it all available here. And to all the people who you know like might be interested too, have them enter in as well. Tell your people, tell your friends. We are going to be here for the rest of for the rest of the Pacific time morning, but we are happy to see all of you guys here as well. Karsten K, good morning to you. Congrats. Hey, it's always nice being the first. There's never anything wrong with that sort. Hello, indeed. And I guess this is you, Kurtis,
That's me.
saying hello to yourself. Happy holidays, Ultra Megala Nicola. Okay, that is unfortunate you have family over, but I hope that you are having a fantastic morning and great holidays with your family. And also too, yeah, did anyone in the chat get any DC Finest for Christmas or anything comic related? We'd like to know before we start getting these books in. Got Green Front. Wife gifted me 2 books for Christmas. That is awesome. It is good to see that more reading material is getting into the hands of some of you wonderful folks. Partware Comics reader, hello to you. Almost read Superman in hand, all of the other ones. And in the post, we do have Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Legion, Zero Hour, and Catwoman on the way. And so far, it's great to hear that people are seemingly all in on this specific line. Even my comic book shop, when I first talked to them, they were a little bit apprehensive about getting some of those DC Finest in, but I did find out that people are starting to order them now more, and there are a couple on the bookshelf, which is super cool to see. Seems like Ultra Megala Nicola, okay, also got the JLA Finest as a gift, waiting on my copy of the Catwoman book, though, which has not even been mailed out yet.
Oh, too bad.
That is too bad, indeed. David Sexton, hello and good afternoon or good morning, good day to you. Just waited for the A. I appreciate the final show. Would not be here without you, my friend. Thank you so much. Logan, hello, Kurtis and Dom. I hope you have both had a nice, relaxing Christmas and hey, we hope you're doing well too, Logan. Good to see you. Good morning, Batmantha. Hope you're doing well. From the other side of the world, Tom. Good morning to you. And yes, Batman. Good morning to you. Indeed. Look at that. Kurtis in elf colors. I love the Grogu sweat. Where'd you get that?
I don't know. My wife got it last year,
Oh,
so I don't know where it came from.
all right. That is a nice sweater still, though. Indeed. Um, and yes, hello, Jason. Happy holidays to you too, my friend. And yes, I was surprised. But yeah, Omar is a very, very kind guy. Very lucky to have him in my life. Um, yes, happy holidays to you, Starscream, and also happy upcoming New Year's as well. The Superman one could be interesting for me, and yes, that is unfortunate. Was I the one who said that? Um,
Yep.
that was yeah. I take that back, guys. I apologize. Yes, we do need the finest. I would like DC to digitize a lot of their bigger non-trade paperback or thinner trade paperbacks at some point, because there is a whole market out there that do want to read these, but just don't have access to the material as much as others do, and it would be nice to have that all formatted as well. Neighborhood Merc, good afternoon to you, friend. Happy holidays as well. Yeah, here are, I guess some of the question or some of the answers in the chat. Only comics related item I got for Christmas is Batman Resurrection, the novel by John Jackson Miller, which follows up on the first Michael Keaton Batman film.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's not
Cool.
that's nice. I don't think I've read that, Tom. Let me know how it is. Here's one for you, Curtis. Epic Collection for Hulk Volume 2 and F4 Collection, Epic Collection Volume 2.
That's pretty good. Those ones are getting harder to find.
They are indeed. So that is nice that you got them. Got the Batman and JSA editions. Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome to hear. We're going to be talking about JSA in just a bit. And yes, I do think it's great. It's great to look on the bookshelf too with the amount of different types of books that DC has. I went over to my comic shop yesterday after I got a haircut, and I saw them like all right next to some of the DC archives that they still had, some of the absolutes, and they look really, really good next to each other on the shelf. So I'm very, very happy to see that that they look great and all well. Hello, Garth Wong. Hopefully you are doing well too. Happy holidays. And yes, festive greetings to you as well. THX1178. Got myself the Bats and Soups Finest on the GIF. Right on the fence about whether to go all in or not. All right.
I think you should go all in if you're able to. Uh, that's just my opinion. But I've done that so far, and I haven't been disappointed with the volume yet. Of course, they've definitely started off with some of the best content out there, so to catch people right away. There are low points in everybody's history, and we'll get around to those volumes eventually. But so far, these have all been stellar books from what I've read.
Yes, same here, same here. And we have 5 to talk about this month, indeed. But yes, no worries, Lucas. It kind of is unfortunate, and with money being tight as it is for me at the moment, I can
Yeah, that
only
is hard.
yeah, but I hope that we get him there at some point. It's weird too because a lot of amazing DC artists, especially of like the last 20 years, have come from Brazil. Like I'm thinking of Ivan Reyes, who collaborated with Jeff Johns on Green Lantern, Justice League, Aquaman. You know, DC
Yep.
has had a lot of fantastic creators from Brazil. It would be nice to get some of you guys there. But yes, we are also here. Once again, we'd like to thank everybody for joining us here on this fine Friday morning. And I think it is now a perfect time to discuss all of the DC Finest trade paperbacks that have come out this month, of which there are five. Let me see if I can hold them all up to the. That is a lot of DC books and a lot
Yeah.
for my feeble hands to fold in. We got the Green Lantern one, JSA, Legion, Events, Zero Hour, and of course Catwoman, all published this month. And they are taking a 3-week break, which is nice for catching up to some of these books, because these books do not they're definitely not one night reads. And when I realized that they weren't, I went, you know what, this is going to be a lot easier for my head to relax and whatnot. But the first one, I think I read a lot quicker than usual, because like in the same form of fashion of Flash, we do have the Green Lantern, Defeat of Green Lantern, by the legendary Gil Kane, John Broome, who was also on Flash, Joe Giella, and Gardner Fox. Whenever a JLA member guest starred, or there was a different type of guest star, he usually was the one on the call. Kurtis, I know that we talked about a little bit of this before backstage. You had read most of it. Let me know, what do you think of this specific volume?
Green Lantern, this is not the first volume of Green Lantern, so you're not introduced to the character or anything like that. But I mean, these are all Silver Age stories, so it's not like you have to know much about the back history. There wasn't even that much back history at this point. Very, very new in the way of Hal Jordan as Green Lantern. But this is some really fun. Um, Science fiction storytelling. I really like this, and I really like The Flash. They have a very similar feel, probably because it's the same writer, John Broome. Um, but you really get the essence of what DC is trying to do with superheroes, with larger than life characters, with the archetypes of men and women in their various roles in here, and the way that they have crafted specific villains. I think that Green Lantern and Flash have some of the better rogues galleries. Um, in the DC universe at this time, and I think that's a lot thanks to these volumes here, which clearly show a lot of creativity. I really, really like this. It doesn't fall into the same sort of ridiculousness that a lot of the other DC Silver Age books do. I mean, yes, there are issues where, Flash becomes really, really super fat or whatever, but for the most part, these are really, really great issues. I like I think I like the Flash better than Green Lantern at this point with these volumes, but it's still a lot of fun to see these stories.
No, me too. I completely
Yeah.
agree with you in the mindset of, well, not only everything you said, you get to see how DC was going to go forward with a lot of the characters that they had already established. Or in the case of Hal Jordan, it's, we want to stray away from, not stray away from, but go in a different direction than what we did in the Golden Age with Alan Scott. Have him sort of be, get him in a different suit, get him in a different costume, get a power battery that lights up and charges his power. I think this volume also encapsulates a lot of what we see in modern Green Lantern books. Like, if you've read Jeff Johns' Green Lantern, you have seen the Tattooed Man, the big old shark, Carol Ferris, the Star Sapphire, and even some of his supporting characters like Tom. Like, they all show up in here. So if you are familiar with this Silver Age material, you're going to be able to see how Johns was inspired by that. And same in the case of Grant Morrison, too. A lot of the characters that they use in their run also show up in this volume as well, which I found interesting. But I really do like this material. I think I'm in the same case that I don't love this one much as Flash. Like, Flash blew me away. Like, when I first read the Silver Age stuff, I was like, I love this. I want to keep reading
Yeah.
more. I don't think Green Lantern is as high for me, but it's still very good, still very solid stuff. Some stories too that completely like blew me away and like shocked my heart. What it means to be a Green Lantern. There's a lot of good one-offs in here too, so I like it as well.
I think that having also read Superman, the Superman Finest, and the Justice Society finest as well, so like close together with these books, it's amazing just the maturity of the comic form that happened between the 40s and not that long, 50, 55. What year is Green Lantern?
63 to 65, so 23
Oh,
years.
60s, 20 years. So, yeah, I'm on vacation right now, and so I don't have all my finest in front of me. I only brought Legion of Superheroes with me to read. So that's the only, I can't refer to dates or anything like that at this time. But so if you think about it, okay, so what years are Justice Society?
Years, so we got 40 to 42 for JSA.
So, so we're talking, yeah, 23-year difference there. Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
20.
20-year difference. So if you think about comics now in 2024 and comics from 2004, the evolution of the craft didn't change that much.
Hmm.
It evolved,
Hmm.
yes, especially because of the advances in digital and that kind of stuff in the terms of artwork. But storytelling wise, I think that um, I think the comics are pretty similar 20 years ago than they are now. But you look at Justice Society and compare that to what they're doing in Green Lantern and even Flash, which is mid 50s, so even a shorter time period,
Hmm.
and they learned a lot. They are growing and learning and evolving at a rapid pace. And so the difference between those books is huge. It's just enormous.
It is like I'm reading some of the adventures that Alan Scott was in the Justice Society of America book, where he goes like on a solo mission because that's what the team tells him to do, and it feels like I'm reading like, and then I go to Hal Jordan's adventures, and the time and amount of space that they could do in this book comparatively. I mean, it's big. It's like I feel like I'm getting a lot more in the story. I'm getting a lot more in each panel because it's not just we have to do one panel separate for each of the stories. It's can we put a page together, have it all make sense, and still give more to you as a reader than we are just in the or trying to cram it in one specific dot of a book and just have everything there and force the reader to see what it is that they're looking at. So, I mean, obviously, Gil Kane is a master of his craft. I feel like that's a given, but
Oh
to
yes, and
see,
this is some of his best stuff. I really love this era of Gil Kane in the '60s.
and
Really good.
completely agree, and it's amazing to see, sort of the transition, but like you said, between some of these books, because you get to experience just how it was like if you're 20 years in like reading some of these comics and you're reading a new issue of Green Lantern. I feel like you're going to be getting a lot more out of Hal in some of these stories
Yeah.
than you are with Alan. And it's no shade to Alan. I just think that it, I think if you're reading some of these stories and you're seeing Hal beat up the Black Hand, or Hal helping out a different Green Lantern Corps member, I just do think that they had a lot more to say with some of this, and more to do in the Silver Age material than they do in the Golden Age.
Yeah, totally.
But yes, I want to get back to the chat with some of these comments. Let's see if I can catch up with here. Oh, I
No
think
one's talking about Green Lantern.
no. It's
What are your thoughts on Green Lantern, everybody?
yes, guys. What do you love it? Hate it? Want to see more? Let's see. Here's one. Is happy to catch one of these lives. I think Is met you know a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's right.
So yes, good to see you guys
Yeah, good to see you.
connecting there. Yes, there
Yeah,
is.
in person.
That is awesome. Um, but yes, lots of double dipping. Post Crisis Batman will be the worst offender, but the Green Era Suicide books will all. Yeah, that's fair. And I do find it interesting to see that like there is going to be some double dipping in the case of these, and then some that's like completely completely new material, and I hope that they continue out with the Batman ones and this edition because we need it. Hello to you, Phil.
I feel
How are you doing today? Joe, my buddy Joe from Joe Talks Comics, dropping in to say hi. Excited to watch and catch the replay. Hope you're doing well too, man. Hope you're doing well too. The finest, Chandisu. Good to see you too, man. Um, Yeah, I adore Silver Age science fiction stuff like Green Lantern. I previously owned some of the material in the showcase volumes, but I am ecstatic to have it in color.
yep. Yeah, it kind of when you have a character who has a color name and his weakness is a color, you kind of need to have the comics in color.
Right, exactly. It's like, who knows? Maybe one of those issues. I mean, I'm not saying it does and it doesn't, but maybe one of those issues has like a color misprint. Green Lantern gets some yellow on him, for whatever reason. You want to be able to see that on the page, and that's another thing too. Like, because I unfortunately a lot of the experiences that I have, because I grew up with Jeff Johns' Green Lantern as a kid, was getting to see Johns sort of take the weakness to the next level and having a literal core
Yep.
surrounded, right, with the
Right.
against the color weakness. And I thought, man, it was so cool to see where the origins of that were, reading through this book. And same too with the Flash team ups. I gotta say, the Flash team ups in Green Lantern were so much fun. Whenever Barry and Hal were on a page, I think the way that those two figuring out how they needed to defeat the enemy, solve crimes, or even just like having a nice chat with each other. Um, and maybe it was just like the world's finest slash Batman and Robin mentality that they were sort of sticking with in the Silver Age. It was very, very cool to see those two characters interact in different issues of Green Lantern as well. I want to see more of it.
Yep.
And yeah, a lot of people still. I feel it. I do think we will get to Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern, and DC Finest at some point. I would not be surprised if we got more of those here with replacing Silver Age Green Lantern trades with Finest. That line only get up to 4 books. Needed 6 to match the Silver Age Omnis.
Oh yeah.
Yes, same here. Steve, happy holidays to you. I think all the Green Lantern they skip will. Yeah, I think issues 1 through 18 will fit in a single one of these books. So I don't doubt that they will find a way to miss out on that as well. And yeah, it's a lot of highs and lows, but I do have to say Green Lantern has been one of the big highs for me at this point. Um, it's still evolving, as Kurtis said, like as an industry, but it's clear that they have figured a way to improve the mythos of the Green Lanterns and made it more modern to a point where literally every single run that has come after it has been a not only a big step up, but they have found ways to readapt the material to fit whatever the writer was, whether it's Ron Mars, Jeff Johns, Robert Venditti, whoever it might be, for their own specific run. Comic Chic, happy holidays to you. I enjoyed the Green Lantern DC Finest. We did too. Loved it as well. Challenge of the Unknown in black and white is less than ideal. Kirby's chisel jaw guys in matching uniforms, mainly told apart by hair color. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel you there. I feel you there. I have a trade of Batman Year 2 from the early 90s, and the colors are the exact same as interesting, says the DC Finest. So if they are changed from the single issues, it's a 30-year-old change. Okay, that's interesting. They might just have those scans then.
Yep, I think so.
Oh, 100%. Julius Schwartz here, Flash Green Lantern were 2 of his titles. He was a science fiction guy at DC, and his titles were always a little bit different to the rest. Yeah, we would not be here talking right now if it wasn't for Julius Schwartz. I will 100% back up on that take that he helped save the comic book industry in the late 50s, early 60s.
Right.
We owe a lot to Julius as a creator. Um,
Yeah, and obviously, if this is the attention and direction that he's giving those titles and putting that sort of content on, or those creators on those titles in order to produce the stuff that he wants. He did a great job of uh, directing all of that, and it shows even all these years later.
It does. And it's part of one of those things that I think makes a lot of the material in here timeless. It's getting to see that somebody had the penchant and a vision to go out not and only shake whatever the mythos was, but to reinvent the wheel in a way that felt organic and it made sense for the characters. And it's clear that with Flash and Hal and Green Lantern, it definitely shows as well. Been looking for a while on how to get into Bronze Age Levitt's Legion of Superheroes, but is a new volume a good starting point for me? We will get to that in a second, Bruce. After Justice Society, I think we got a whole spiel on Legion because Kurtis has read a lot of Legion in as well. And
Yep.
yes, yeah, Schwartz he definitely is. Good evening, Money. Good evening to you. Happy holidays. And it is good to see you as well. Funny thing is that is a Sail Green Lantern even now during All In. He's not just in the core. It still fascinates me how he still has a big role at DC now because Jeff Lemire is doing Justice Society of America, a book that perfect segue. I have not read the whole thing yet because these books do take a long time to read, and man, this Golden Age tale, a long time to read. But I think we have read enough to talk about. So, Kurtis, you read the first couple of issues. Tell us more about All Star Comics issues 3 through 12 that are in this JSA DC Finest.
Okay, so this is a fascinating title, and I had no idea about the history of it because I'm just not a well-read DC guy. But this title was used kind of as a promo title to promote all of the other books that DC was publishing at the time. And what they did was brought all of their characters together into a team called the Justice Society, and each of these issues is like 60 pages, and each of the characters would get it their own like 6-page story or something like that, done by the creative team of the other title. And the first issue sets it up as like they're all getting together at a Justice Society meeting, and each person has to tell a story about one of their recent adventures. And so, we get the Green Lantern story, we get the Johnny Thunder story, we get the Atom story, we get the Hawkman story, and each of them are done by their own creative team, which I think is fascinating. And what that does in this book is it gives you a really great variety to read from. Not all of the stories are great. I definitely like some of the artists and some of the writers better than others. Um, but it's really, really neat to see each of them in their own environments like that. And then in the second issue, they get called on an adventure, and each one of the characters has to do like a solo part of the mission, and then at the end, it all kind of comes together. And that's kind of how the Justice League book worked as well in the 60s. Like in the Justice League DC Finest, they split up the team so that some characters went off and did this thing, and the other characters went off and did that thing, and then they all came together at the end for the finale. But this book takes it a step further where each individual characters, and there's like 8 or 9 of them, they all go off and do their own thing and then come together at the end. So that takes a lot of planning, I think. And I don't know, I think there was probably one guy overseeing all of that, but um, yeah, it's really, really cool. I think the thing that surprised me the most was Sheldon Moldoff, who's the artist for the Hawkman stories. He's really good and so completely different than any of the other artists in this book, and I really like it. His pages completely stand out. Um, the only thing that I wish was different with this volume is the way that they organized the credits at the beginning, because none of the artists or writers are credited in the issues themselves. Sometimes there's like a little artist signature at the beginning of the story so you can see who the artist is. but they write them all in the table of contents. Like under the story, it just says like segment one, artist so and so, segment two, artist so and so. And it doesn't say that, it doesn't identify that segment one is, Flash, or that segment two is Wonder Woman or whatever. You kind of have to flip back and count the different segments in the issue in order to figure out where you are in the story. So I wish that was a little easier to understand and to read. But other than that, this is a really good book.
I agree with all those sentiments, and on the basis of Sheldon Modoff, I want a Hawkman DC Finest at some point.
Yeah,
We need
I
one.
absolutely. Based on what I've read in this Justice Society book, I would absolutely love to have a Golden Age Hawkman DC Finest sooner than later.
Yeah, me too. I love Sheldon as an artist, and I have been sold. This is my friend sneezes. Bless you. We need, we definitely need a Hawkman DC Finest at some point, and I would love to get myself updated on pre-crisis Hawk lore, because I know that a lot of people infamously discredit a lot of the Hawk lore because it is confusing. But to see the origins of it and see how it evolves over time, I think would be a great way to formalize and conceptualize how Hawkman and Hawkgirl, Hawkwoman, and every single other Hawk character on Thanagar all worked out right before we hit Crisis, and getting to talk about it, because I think that would make up for a great segment between us two at
Yep.
some point. But 100% too on the JSA material. I did find, well, I had to read this through on like four different train rides because of just how
It's
packed
dense.
some of the
It's
material.
really dense.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I,
Yeah,
I,
and it's quite something because those stories are only like 6 pages long or whatever, each one of those, but they cram so much in, and especially if you look at like the Hour Man issues stories,
Mhm,
they have like 10 panels per page,
mhm.
all with a ton of dialogue. It's quite something.
It is. And I even had to tell myself I was on my way to do my marketing final for class, and I decided, you know what? I think I studied enough. Let me go ahead and read some more JS. So I sacrificed studying time on the train to read these JSA comics, which
Good for you.
were all worth. Hey, I got an A on the final. I'm not gonna trip over myself on that. So I'll pat myself in the back for that. But there is something about this material that just makes me smile. Just getting to see, like, if how we get to whatever Doom Patrol was in the Silver Age, or all of the teams that we have nowadays with the soap operas, the blending styles of reading Uncanny X-Men by Claremont, or Wolfman Perez Teen Titans. It's all, I think, a lot of what we owe to that is in this specific book. I know that it's not the team up that we all envision, right? Because it's like you said, it's a lot of people telling their stories and recapping their events, but getting to see how this was all coordinated, which I think would have been fascinating at this time, considering that we don't have the complexities of the current industry with editorial staff and executives and everybody else, all the other different creators on board. But getting to see how they put them all in to these very big 64-ish pages. It's a very, very nice thought that DC decided, let's put this Golden Age material out, and place them all in here. I thought that was spectacular. I do
Yep.
also wish too that like they had like individual markers for the issues with like the credits, sort of similar to how they had the credits on the DC Finest Batman Year One and Year Two. Like right before the stories, we get like the writer, artist, colorist, and letterer, or whoever was on that book. It would have been nice to have that in this as well. I know that it probably would have run over a couple more pages, like probably would have been like 50 plus pages if they did that, but something like to mark and say, you're at this part of the issue, this is what you're reading now, or something like that would have been nice. Because sometimes I did like, have to ask myself, like when I'm writing my notes, I'm like, wait, who wrote that issue again? Like, what did they do in this specific part? Having not to bounce back and forth would have been nice, but yeah, other than that, I don't think it's a bad representation of JS. Obviously, they've evolved. Like whenever we do get to Infinity Inc. and All Star Squadron in the 80s, It's going to be a completely different type of team. And obviously, when you get to the late 90s, early 2000s with James Robinson and Jeff Johns, when they get on it, it's a completely different legacy team again. But
So
yeah,
you just mentioned Infinity Inc. and All-Star Squadron. Do you think those titles will be in the Justice Society of America DC Finest line, or will
I
they get their own line?
I can't imagine them straying away from it because those are the same characters. And I think with whenever we get to events, like seeing how they like place 0 hour in, um, I don't see them sort of moving away from that. I don't think we have enough Infinity Inc., for example, to have like a big sprawling line of, oh, like here's Infinity Inc.
Right.
because there's only the two runs. So I think that they're going to be grouped in with JSA just because of if DC understands like, oh, this is like the legacy characters and then moving on and shifting on to different iterations and teams. I think we'll probably see them in yeah, in that format.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
so here's a question from Logan. Would you guys prefer if they stuck to pre-crisis stuff that has never been printed, or do you like how they're jumping around?
Oh, I'm an Epic guy, so I absolutely love that they're jumping around. Honestly, I would not be as enthusiastic with the line if it was only Golden Age and Silver Age stuff, because I do love that Bronze Age and even the modern stuff too. I think that all of them all of them mixed up provide uh, such a good variety, and I appreciate that quite a bit.
Mm. I agree with you too. The part of this line that makes me happy about this is that with all the volumes that I have here in tow, they're all from different eras of DC Comics. You got Golden Age, you have Silver to Bronze Age in a transition for Legion, which we'll get to in a minute, and then Events and Catwoman, which are considered post-crisis slash modern age stories because they take up a lot less time to read. And we're sort of getting to the space now where we are evolving to we're going to write for the trade paperback slash omnibus slash big hardcover, whatever that might look like. And I like jumping around because I don't have to. I know that like it's an easier thing to commit to. It's not like volume one, two, three, and then oh because volume three didn't sell well, we can't continue to print the books out, or we have to stop this line and move on to something different, like we've seen DC do quite a lot in the last couple of years. So yeah, I love
Yeah.
that they're jumping around and that they're trying out new and weird different books slash lines even if people like don't try to pick it up. It is nice to see the publisher throwing a dart and trying to see if it sticks, and I very much appreciate that.
Now, having said that, I totally understand if there are longtime DC collectors who have bought a ton of stuff and have collections built up, which I am not because I'm not a DC guy. But for those of you who are, I can totally see, well, half of these books you already have on your shelf. You have that content on your shelf. So yes, I could definitely see people preferring that they just stick to stuff that has never been printed before. You know, all of the DC of of the 50s and of the 70s that never kind of came out in collections or whatever. Um, I understand that absolutely. So I do hope that they, and I think that they are, paying attention to having a good mix of the stuff that's tried and true, the year one stuff that they know is going to sell well, with a mix of stuff that hasn't been collected before as well. And honestly, I have no idea what that stuff is because I'm not up to speed on previous DC collections.
No, for sure. Because I think a lot of people who have been reading these DC comics, they're used to getting volume one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, whatever that line might look like, especially if it's a long run. Like me, I used to collect some of the thicker trade paperbacks. Like I'm waiting for Wade Flash one, two, three, four, five, six, etc. Uh, but this line, you don't have to worry about. Like it's a question of if they stop the line, they have to move on to something else. And obviously, we've had again instances before in the past where DC said we've only had two books of the line. It didn't come out well. We have to crush it out for something else. Um, but yeah, like I think we've been saying for like the last 4 months, if they actually commit to this bit and say that it is time for us to look forward as a company and push all of these out in a nice, timely format, while they're going around, it makes me believe that it's not just a one-off gimmick. It's a long-term project for them to get all of this out. So I want them to finish. I want them to move around. I'm very interested to see where actually they're going to go after the second volume post-crisis Batman. After Killing Joke, if they're going to continue on with that line, or if they move to Dennis O'Neil Batman, or if they move to something that's already been printed out. I would very much
Yeah,
be.
I'd like them to jump around.
Yeah,
I mean, I love that we're getting those two consecutive volumes in a row. I do like that back to back. Then I want a taste of something different from Batman as well. So yeah,
mm-hmm.
let's skip back to the 70s or something or wherever. I don't know.
Exactly.
All new to me.
Um, but yes, Golden Age JSA takes some work, but you can definitely see how much it influenced Silver Age JLA. And considering that the guy who's front billed on JSA, Gardner Fox, obviously getting to write JLA in the 60s, you can definitely see how he moved from one spot to another. Um, so I think my other weird, like I talk about this with you off stage, but the other weird comment that I do have for this issue of JSA is that Diana, aka Wonder Woman, gets to go to the Philippines in issue 11 of All Stars, and this was during the time when the U.S. was at war with Japan during World War II. So they wanted some of the comics to reflect that, and there are a good handful of issues where the JSA actually do go out to fight the war in the Pacific. And yeah, so it was very interesting seeing Diana in in my where I'm from, in Luzon too, which I was like, wow, like I didn't know that the Philippines would appear in a comic book, but it was very nice to see that we were like my homeland was somewhere. That's all I had
Yeah,
to say for that
very
one.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, met Julie Schwartz several times. He was great. Biography was also a fascinating read. He is an important figure in science fiction fandom also.
Oh yeah, I should read that biography. I'm very interested in that.
I need to as well. Uh, Also would like Freedom Fighters, Infinity Inc., and Omega Men. Those are two other, but yeah, Freedom Fighters and Omega Men I think are... do we want... Oh, yeah. No, I completely agree there. Um, I've been getting my DC Finest info through Wiki. Is their page up to date? Actually, Kurtis, don't you have your own thing? Um,
I have um if you go to epicmarvelpodcast.com/DC finest DC dash finest dash guide, I think it is, or maybe it's just DC finest dash guide. Um, I've put up a list of all of the stuff that has been announced so far. I think it's pretty up to date. I can't remember if I updated the Green Arrow contents or not on that, but you can go see that. James has it linked in the comments, of course, because he's awesome.
you are indeed. So James,
Uh,
thank you, my friend.
yep, thank you very much.
So yes, you guys can head out there if you want the info to the guy. You can also check out James. If you also could link comicreleases.com. This is specifically for the people who are interested in buying them, whatever retailer you decide to buy it from. On top of having the most up-to-date release date for all of these, along with contents as well, they are all up to date there. So you can obviously check out comicreleases.com for that information as well. So use both of us as guides. Yeah, lots of Sheldon is a great artist. Sheldon Modoff is I completely agree. I love his work on Batman, which is comparable to Dick Sprang in my eyes.
Oh, I want to see that. That is the Batman volume I want them to do next then. Okay.
Gotta get it. Gotta get it there. 100% agreed.
Yeah.
Um, Yes, too. I love the Kubert family line of artists. All of them having sort of unique and distinct voices in the art history creative realm, and obviously Joe being the one who started it, both as a penciler and inker, is something I want to see in print because I've read a lot of Andy and Adam's work at Marvel and DC. Obviously Wolverine, X-Men, Batman, you name Avengers, any book that they were on, they're probably on it. And even Joe Kubert's granddaughter, Emma Kubert, doing cool stuff in the indie realm. It's been nice to see. I mean, it's a dynastic dynastic family of creators and artists.
Yeah,
Um,
and Joe is just a master. It's no wonder he has a school named after him because he's just incredible. From his work on Tarzan to some of his graphic novels like Facts from Sarajevo and Yossel. It's just he does amazing, amazing work.
Completely agreed. So yes, DC, if you're watching this, we need Hawkman in DC finest form. We want to read it
Yeah.
ASAP. Max, hello to you. Happy holidays, friend.
Hi, Max.
Happy holidays. Yes. Yeah. Any Hawkman era would be great. Golden Age, Silver Age, Tim Truman's Hawk World. You can throw Ostrander in there too. John's. Even
Man,
yeah,
he's just got some good creators. I love Tim Truman. That's
yeah.
amazing.
Agreed. Pre-Crisis Hawkman is easy. It was after. Yeah, that is definitely the case from what I understand about Hawk lore. Yeah, I would love to see them continue the Wonder Woman line and trying to finish because I don't think the JMS run after Simone's has been particularly collected well in a form that's still in print. Um, but I also would like them to like they're reaching the Bronze Age Wonder Woman stuff, so that's actually super nice to see for next year. Um, and yes, I've been using the JSA book as a way to figure out which Golden Age finest to read in the future. Um,
That's a great idea. Absolutely, because that is such a, I think it's indicative of what you'll find in those Golden Age books for sure. That's a great idea.
I completely agree. And yeah, jumping around should be more successful for them than constantly trying to restart lines from the beginning and in new formats.
Yep.
100%. Which is why, like, yeah, you start off in 1986. You don't start off in 1940 with Batman. Um, uh, hello, Atomic Hound. Long live the Legion. Hopefully, we'll get to, yeah, for sure. I may be in the minority, but I like the shuffle printing runs like Epics did.
Yep. Yep. You're not in the minority, I think. I think a lot of people really like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah. Simone the Dane, good happy holidays to you, man. What are your thoughts on the Deathstroke Omni from our Warv Wolfman? I love it. I hope they do a volume 2. Yeah, Deathstroke has had a definitely interesting history, and I will say this, I'm very interested to see if they do a Deathstroke line, would they tie into it with Teen Titans, or they just make it a separate Slade Wilson line? I know that he's had a lot of series from the 1990s onward, and he has been a popular fixation in cultural media, even if he has done some very egregious deeds. Um, a lot of people still love him for his character, but he's. I did think a lot of the material in the 90s was interesting and enjoyable for what it is. But I do prefer the Christopher Priest Rebirth Deathstroke run as well as there. Bakado, happy holidays to you. Yes, I'm interested to see how they will and what series will all get included in the Batman series once they get closer to Nightfall. Oh boy, yeah, Nightfall is that's one where you ask yourself, are you gonna do an events one or are you gonna do just Batman? Call it a day.
I think you'll have to do both. That's my guess.
Mm-hmm,
Is that Nightfall with that title in the solicit, like the solicit title, will sell because it's a big event.
mm-hmm,
But then you'll also want to have it in the Batman series. So I'd imagine that the Batman finest that contains that material will have the core story, but then yeah, we'll get an event that has all of the tie-ins and everything as well.
mm-hmm. 100%. Long-time DC collector, but I'm all for jumping around. I love that I don't know what's next. Me too.
Yes. Yeah.
It makes the
That
hype.
makes it so
Yeah.
fun.
It's nice to guess. It makes for more guessing material to talk about with your buddies, and it's also like nice not being in the know because they could throw a curveball at you. And it makes it see that's the thing. I think the thing I love about DC whenever I read some of their solicits, like it makes me like very happy when I see like something I'm getting something that's getting collected is going to be finally able to come out, and I can be a lot more happy and hyped for that compared to Marvel, where I think I expect just like a lot of the norm to come about. But I do feel like DC surprises are better than Marvel's in that regard. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how they do Vertigo. We talked about this in the I think in last month or 2 months ago when they were doing we're talking about the Doom Patrol line, because Doom Patrol
Yeah.
gets to Vertigo, And how do you do Doom Patrol and Vertigo at the same time? Do you also do it for other Vertigo books like John Constantine Hellblazer, Sandman, The Invisibles? At what point do you go, there has to be a line, or is there no line at all? But I would expect them to do so.
Whatever they think will sell, probably.
I agree with that. It's classic DC. Also wonder if the Huntress backups from Wonder Woman would go in a JSA line or possibly in a Bat Family line.
Well, yeah, and that's a hard one. Honestly, my opinion is if it's in the issue, it should be in the issue. So if it's a backup for Wonder Woman, then it should appear alongside the Wonder Woman stuff so that we can get um, an example of how people were reading these titles back then. If you had a subscription to Wonder Woman, that's what you would get in your mailbox every month, and I want all of that collected in the paperback as well. Now, obviously, that's not always the case, even with the Epic collections, because we don't get all like the entire Tales of Suspense issue in one. We only get, the Iron Man stories and the Iron Man epics and that kind of thing. So I have no idea where they'll show up. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. We did get the Catwoman backup stories from Action
We
Comics
did.
in the Catwoman DC Finest, though. So, it's kind of unlikely that we'll see them in a Superman Finest. So, my guess is that they are going to split them up.
Yeah, I would guess so too. And there's nothing I think wrong with double dipping in the case if they want everybody to have a nice reading experience and not interrupted by anything in particular, which is what we have seen from literally every single DC volumes that have of one of these that have come out this month. I would imagine that they do the same for their regular or titles like that too, where you can anticipate them in both. Do you think they will include Shadow of the Legend of the Dark Knight and Shadow of the Bat in DC Finest?
I hope so. I really think that they should.
I completely agree with them as well.
Yeah, and I know that what is it? Legends of the Dark Knight. One of those ones is like not in contemporary continuity with the other Bat titles, but that's okay. I just stick them in there. You can group them all together in one little section of the book or whatever, and so what? It's still great. They're still Batman stories.
They're still Batman, and we will, DC, they will find a way to put Batman in. It is in their company name. I can't see them straying away from that. And thank you, James, for the link to comic releases as well, where you can find all the DC Finest up to date under our upcoming tabs in that on the website. Rosie0216, happy holidays to you. Just saw this live. Thanks for the content. Cannot wait to go back on this. We can't wait for you to join us back on the replay. We appreciate it. Do you think that they might reprint the Impact comic line? In 1991 as DC Finest, they used the Archie superheroes like the Shield and Flyman. Does DC own those or not?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure those are still owned by Archie.
Yeah. I think Archie will, unless DC gets the rights to Archie, which who knows? Anything can happen. I have seen weirder things happen in the comics world. I can't anticipate them going into the DC Finest line at any point in the near future. But yes. Yes. Hello, what's up, YP? Hope you are doing well as well. And yes, let's see. Yeah, bought all the lines so far, but waited till Christmas to open them up. Loving the Superman. They all do look great on the shelf, let me say. They really, really do.
And because they're thicker, they take up so much space. Like all of a sudden, 10 volumes is like this much. Mm-hmm. And that's 2 months worth of DC Finest. It's like it takes up a whole shelf already. Man, we're gonna run out of space so fast.
And now imagine that extended out to 2 years after we've done this pod for how long? We're like, man, I need to go back to IKEA again or somewhere else at the store.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we do need Sergeant Rock, 100%. And Logan here, as someone who knows less about DC than Kurtis, I've never heard of Sheldon Moldoff. We got to check out some of his stuff.
Yeah, you better do that.
You do.
It's great. It's really great.
And you know what? I'll figure out a way to do this, Rosie. I think what probably will happen, I can reach to Omar about this because I do separate DC Finest videos on his channel, as per my contract. We'll see what we can do about this in the future. I know that Kurtis and I are super busy, but we'll find a way to integrate it at some point. I promise. Yep. I promise you that. And actually, speaking of Legion, 100%, I agree. We need that in that Finest format. But we also do have this.
Okay.
And yes, go ahead. Sorry.
So I did have a question about that series right there, because in the 0 Hour book, there is an issue of Legion, and it's an acronym, Legion 1984, and then there's also an issue of Legionnaires. And I don't know anything about this. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming it's all Legion of superhero stuff, and I think Legion is like the very beginning of what would eventually in the future become the Legion of Superheroes. That's what that story is, or something like that. But like, is all of that going to appear in a Legion of Superheroes DC Finest? Like, it'll include Legion 1984 and Legionnaires?
I anticipate so, because we have this is what I think makes the interesting mess of Crisis on Infinite Earths funny, because here in this specific volume, right, we have three different art styles / different creative teams on Legion of Superheroes that all have different goals of what they want to do as books, etc. Right, Jim Shooter's is different. Legionnaires is different from, like, they're a different group from the L.E.G.I.O.N. I can spell, thank God.
Yeah.
So like they are a different core team, but they will still get thrown in as both. Like, they are Legion of Superheroes adjacent / like related. They will both be thrown in with the same one.
Okay. So hold on a second. One of the comments from Tom Campbell says Kurtis is thinking of Legion 89, not 84. Right. So that's what it is. Right, Legion 89. That is what I'm thinking of. One of those issues is in, actually, I think it's called Legion 94. It's not called 89. It's in 0 Hour.
It is in 0, yeah. Because I think the way that they reference it is the year. But it's... See, actually, this is one thing that I like more from Marvel versus DC. Because DC, the way they do it is by volume or series number, right? You will see Catwoman Volume 2, issues 1 through 12. You will see Batman Volume 2, like issues 1 through 11. Marvel has the years all laid out whenever you buy one of their books, so you know which specific run you're talking about, especially if it's a book that's been relaunched, or if an annual happens to have the same number, they tell you which annual year it is. DC doesn't do that. So sometimes it's up to, like, whoever it might be to figure out and research which Legion year is this, because they've relaunched plenty of times in the last 30 years. That's a quick, I guess, note. I do want to say, if I did have like one thing I want to nitpick about DC's way of titling things, I do wish that they included the year number of the run that the year that the book started in, so that we know which run that they're pulling out from. Because say, like, in the future, it's a specific book that happens to have the same title name, and we don't know, like, which series it's from. That can get confusing to a lot of new readers, or even old readers who might want to be getting into that series and don't know what they're starting out with. So yeah, 94 is when it ended. You are correct. Legion, it did. Legion did technically end in 94, but was revived through
Rebels. So would Rebels be included in a Legion of Superheroes collection if that's where the story continues? They would have to. There's just so much going on.
Because Legionnaire,
or would Legion, the acronym Legion get its own DC Finest title, since it's contemporary, and it doesn't take place in the future?
I would imagine they just keep it in the same Legion of Superheroes, just to make it, like, less confusing for the reader. Also, this is where spots like having Lars or even Mark Waid would help to sort of get us through the mess that is Legion content.
Phil Owens is a big Legion fan too. Phil Owens knows.
Phil, Atomic Hound, we appreciate you guys for your service. Because I I do have to say, not being like, I know who the characters are in this book. I have read them through different iterations over multiple points in time. Now, granted, I am a lot newer in terms of the reading, and this was my first exposure to Silver and Bronze Age Legion. Um, my first experience with Legion was with the Jeff Johns Final Crisis tie-ins to the event with the Legion of Three Worlds. That's how I got introduced with the Legion. But I've seen them get rebooted multiple times over in the last 13 years with New 52 and also post Rebirth when Brian Michael Bendis took over, and they're completely different iterations than the Legion that we do have. So that's why I was very excited to get into this book, because I don't, again, my amount of history that I know about this title is very scarce, and
Yeah.
it feels,
Well,
yeah.
it's daunting because the Legion of Superheroes has like a million characters in it. And so when you pick up a title like this, and you like, if you can pick up Superman and there's one character that you really need to know, and that's kind of it. Same with like Flash or Green Lantern, but you pick up this and you turn to the first page, and I don't recognize any of those guys. It's like, this is going to be a lot to to keep track of. But reading through this, it actually wasn't the case because each issue only really features two or three characters, maybe five characters at the most, and they tell you who they are at the beginning of every episode, and they let you know what their power or issue, and they let you know what their powers are at the beginning of every issue, so you're not lost. It's actually pretty easy to follow. And then as you get into the stories, you know, the team, the five characters are made up of a few characters that you know from the previous story, plus a few new characters, and so it eases you into it. And I think that's really smart. I love that. I was introduced to so many characters that I didn't know because I'm not very familiar with Legion at all. In fact, my introduction to Legion of Superheroes is actually from the Amalgam universe, Spider-Boy and the Legion, that one issue, which of course none of those characters are in these books, but the concept of the Legion is there, and that's how I kind of knew them. And then Legion of Superheroes show up in Smallville for a little bit, so I got to know some of those characters there. And actually, I didn't realize this, but the Supergirl TV show is basically Supergirl and the
And the
Legion of
Legion, right?
Superheroes.
It is.
And I didn't know because like Mon-El, Brainiac, Five, and even Dream, who I had no idea was a previously known character, they're all Legion characters. And so I actually was already familiar with those characters and those powers because of that TV show. It was a nice surprise. So like going back and learning about these characters was really good. And so far, I've only been able to read a portion of this, the first 200 pages or so, but it's a lot of fun. This is the Silver Age, and so we have kind of goofier stories, much more lighthearted, but at the same time, some of them go into some pretty dark places. One of the early stories, half of the team dies, and the rest of the team has to figure out why they died and who did it and how to revive them if possible. So it goes into some pretty dark places. Um, Really nice stuff from Jim Shooter, who was a teenager at the time, and I was surprised um, at the quality and maturity of his storytelling, even at such a young age. It's really really great. Win Mortimer did the artwork for the stories that I was reading here. I didn't get to the Dave Cockrum stuff yet, but Win Mortimer, fantastic artist. Uh, Really knows how to portray all of these characters through body language to give them each a um, unique voice. So they're just not all the same. And I really appreciate that, especially because I don't know any of these characters. Um, but yeah, I think this was a solid book. I'm glad that they kicked it off with that volume. I don't know about any of the other volumes, but this one um, really worked.
Yeah, it stuck out to me because as somebody who didn't know the iterations of these characters, it Jim does a really good job of introducing you to them. This is actually one of the parts of Silver Age where I actually do appreciate them over explaining things, because typically when I read a book that has a character that like I know or like that's previously established, I always like try to shy away from it, because it's like I already know who Batman is. I don't need him reintroduced in every single issue. I know he has a cape. I know he fights crime. I know he has a stupid sidekick. But here it's like, okay, I don't know this version of Dream Girl. I don't know this version of Brainy 5. I don't know this character of Lightning Lad. Whoever it might be, I always felt like I always felt like I always had like I always had like a good hand holding me and making sure I knew who these characters were and what they were doing in this specific issue, what they were doing in fight. And so in that case, I think a lot of this material has stuck up, like aged pretty well, and it makes sense. Everything in the panels makes sense, and the nice art from Win Mortar was also a plus too. I love it. Yeah, great expressions, great panel work.
Very nicely restored too,
Yep.
for the age of some of these comics. Very, very nicely restored.
Indeed. And I am interested to see, maybe we could talk about this next month, whenever you do get to the final 400, the transition to Ross Andrew and then Dave Cockrum is a completely different shift. I've bounced around quite a lot in this book. I was trying to pick and choose between which issues that I wanted to read, but it is very much a different tone than you do get in the first 350, 400 pages of this book. Yeah. And
Awesome.
so yeah.
Well, I'll be checking out the rest of it on my plane ride home, I think, for my vacation. So that's where I'll be able to get to this part.
Indeed. So yeah, in Cockrum Legion, you can see the design elements that would flow into his for X-Men run, particularly using a look similar to Timberwolf or Wolverine.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Timberwolf on the cover there, right? That's
Yeah.
very similar to, like, especially the Shi'ar outfit that Wolverine got for a little bit there.
Yeah, it kind of does look like it. And same time, I was like, man, this looks like Sabretooth mixed in with Wolverine. Am I sure I'm reading a DC book? But it really is nice to see like a lot of the inspiration for what stories would hold, and some people even saying that they would do like early, like you jump back earlier with the Legion or the L.E.G. You get the point.
The acronym.
The acronym Legion, that they would like to see two separate lines, which actually I would completely understand that too. I don't know if DC would do it and if they're immediately going to do it, because some of those trade paperbacks you can find for really cheap, and they also never got pushed through like past like volume 2 on a lot of those reprints. So I'm assuming if they would just like forego that, even though like yes, it would make sense to have their own line because the sales and they want to keep stuff up or whatever, they would just keep it under that banner and have it mapped differently. Although I guess you're questioning how does it look like on your shelf at that point. But yes, I am interested to see how they do incorporate 90s Legion into the mix with DC Finest, because you get to 2000 like mid 2000s Legion, and I think it's pretty simple because you just get Mark Waid and Barry Kitson, who took over in 2004, just under that one run. You can get 2 volumes out of that easy. I don't know if DC will do, but we have to see. They have given us some nice surprises with this line. I mean, Peacemaker getting one is such a big one to me still.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
we'll have, yeah. So, but yes, it is amazing that Jim Shooter wrote all the stories there while in high school after graduating. He stopped writing for DC, had to consider college and an offer from Marvel, and look what happened there. I guess the rest is history.
Yeah.
And yeah, Nightcrawler was originally pitched as a Legionnaire. That is more interesting facts.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, his costume definitely looks like a Legion costume. I really do like the simplicity of the Legion costumes. They're not overly complicated. All of them just have like either color or shape identifiers, which make it really, really easy to do when you have a whole, one panel with a whole bunch of characters in it.
Yeah, it's nice to see, because like you'd think, especially with a lot of comics nowadays having a lot of complicated, overtly scratchy and big line designs for some of their future titles. This is so different from that in the it's a clean look, it's a nice look. It's just like sometimes it's just simple clothes that like these guys are like simple cloaks, onesies, tunics.
Yeah.
It's not the 31st, like if this was a book that was published today, I guarantee you a lot of these designs would be there. You see lines all over them. It's like 3-4 different types of armored layers, but they don't have that here, and it was so nice and soothing to the eyes to see that. Which
Yeah,
is
yeah. It a very stark contrast to like Jim Lee's X-Men in the 90s.
it
Yeah.
very much is, and there's no shade to Jim Lee. I just do
No,
love, yeah, I just do love the simplicity of it, like you said, and it's something that kept
it
me.
makes it stand out.
It does. Even whatever they were like, even the food, the milk, whatever they were drinking in here, I'm like, man, this is so clean. Yeah, Win Mortimer has jumped up my list of artists to look out for Silver Age materials. So, good job, DC, for doing that. And lots of talk, considering they uh, I don't want to spoil it for Kurtis, but they are trying to bring some iteration of the Legion back to DC. As to, well, we'll have to see what they do there. Um, let's see. Legion of Superheroes is so good. I wish more people gave them a chance. I hope that, yeah, I hope that people are taking chances with this and that we get to see more of it. I really do want them to continue this line, to experience the Legion and to understand more of their history, so that I can talk about it with people instead of just asking people, hey, what's a good Legion of Superheroes iteration? Can you
Yeah,
what,
yeah, for sure.
and yes,
Who's your favorite character, Dom, in the Legion of Superheroes?
I think Dream Girl would probably be by at the top of my list, followed closely by Brainy 5.
That's cool. I like Chameleon Boy. I
Neon
mean,
Boy's
I'm
good, yeah.
only basing it on the few issues that I've read
Mhm.
here. Chameleon Boy was really good in one story, and I absolutely loved Bouncing Boy, how he got a time to shine in one of these early issues as well. Don't know anything about his character, but he himself in one of the issues says that he is there strictly for comic relief, but he got to actually be the main hero of that story. So I like that. I really like that for him.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I thought that was great. I like that you love Chameleon Boy. And the nice thing too about like all of these characters is that I think everybody like has a favorite Legion character, despite their having like a million, a
Yeah.
million Legion characters to pick from. But yeah, I think Brainy's been my favorite though, just for the simple, like I always have had, I think, a soft spot for Brainiac, because Superman Brainiac was one of the first like Superman books that I read, and even though like yes, I understand that Vril Dox isn't isn't Brady 5 yet, like to see the Koluan line get to a point where, oh, there's a good guy somewhere there. I think it's always been like the osmosis of that, and then and then getting to see more Dream Girl was cool, because the only exposure that I had from her was in the JSA JLA crossover in the mid 2000s between Jeff Johns' relaunch of the Justice Society of America after Infinite Crisis and Brad Meltzer's team. So getting to see more of her was cool. But so far I love them all. Even Mon-El too. I have to throw him somewhere amongst my favorites as well. Even though I feel like I already have like a billion Superman family members I love. But it's very nice to see a lot of this material, and I hope they continue, so Kurtis and I can keep talking about it, and we also have something to talk about with Lars on Near Mint Condition. So yeah, The Legion of Superheroes was one of DC's best-selling books in the 80s. Levitz, as a writer, made it easy to track and keep all the characters, give them individual development. I wonder when we'll get to that point. We will have to see. Let's see if there are. Oh, hello. There he is. If my thing will load. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Adventure. Yeah, there you go. Atomic Hound says Adventure Comics 300 was thrown in their stocking stuffer for Christmas. That is awesome.
Cool.
And yes, I want to appreciate you, Dex, for helping me keep a track of this very weird continuity. that's set both in the present and in the future. Because you told me earlier that you didn't get a chance to flip through Zero Hour Part One, because of time constraints, and that is completely understandable. But we did talk about the two different Legion books that are in here, which are Legionnaires and Legion 94. Um, but yeah, a very I'm going to say this is a very interesting place for DC to start off with events, because I don't think it's particularly reader friendly, if that makes sense. It's I don't know where to start. The reader friendliness of it, which is something that I have liked from almost all of the DC finest I've been put out. I think Zero Hour was a misstep in the case of fact that you are thrown into the wind with a completely different continuity than what most people are set and used to, right? Um, it's not it's not Barry Allen as the Flash. Superman is also stuck with his own, reeling from the death of himself from not too long ago. Completely different characters are in completely different spots. This was around the time where Guy Gardner got the warrior treatment. So in that case, I think the status quo makes it weirder for people who are just jumping into and saying, okay, like if we got to start off with an event, where do you kick it off? And on top of that, there is a very big twist that happens at the start of the issue with Hank Hall, aka Hawk, who gets thrown into the wind. There is a big twist in like the first front of the issue, and I'm just gonna say it's not for everybody.
Okay.
But what I will say, the coolest thing about Zero Hour is that all the issues count down. So you're starting off with issue 4, and you're heading to 0, and you're moving down towards that certain point. I still don't know if it's the greatest place to start off with an event, but I am still very. I actually am curious as to why they decided to start off with Zero Hour than another Crisis or another big DC event that has come out in the last 30 years or so.
Well, I mean, a lot of those other events have been kept in print. How long ago was the Zero Hour Omni? I think that's probably out of print now, right?
Oh, it's still very much in print.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, 1.5 years in print from.
Oh,
I
that's it? Okay. Well, then, yeah, I have no idea. They must really, really like it. But for me, like I said, I haven't had a chance to read this one because it came too late in the month, and um, December was just so busy. So I had a choice. What do I take on my vacation? I hadn't read Legion or Zero Hour, which came out in the same month, and Catwoman arrived the day before I left, and I haven't even opened up that envelope yet. So, um, I I uh, I haven't touched Zero Hour. But what is interesting to me is that even if it's not a good reading experience, it's going to be a good cross section of what DC was like in this one because every title, it seems, has one issue in this series as a tie-in. So maybe that won't be a good reading experience because I won't know any of the B plots that are going on through all of these issues. But it does make me interested to check them all out. Now, the question I have for you is I know that after this crisis event, all of the titles get 0 issues, like issue number 0. So are we going to see a third volume, like a Zero Hour Part 3 or whatever, that collects all of the 0 issues?
If their goal is to just reprint the omnibus, I sincerely doubt it, because the volume 2, this I should also add, this does have the exact same mapping as the omnibus does.
Okay, good to know.
So yeah, volume 1 is the same as the Omni, and then volume 2 is the second half of the omnibus. It would be cool if they did a volume 3 and included the issue zeros, because there are only some of them that are thrown in here. I think Flash Zero is thrown into the second Omni, which is very cool to see, honestly, because I had no idea if they were going to do it or not.
Is there a reason why only some of them are included and not all of them?
I think it's the case of like these were the more popular titles. Like somebody wants to see what Mark Waid and Brian Augustine are doing on Flash, they'll throw that in there. Some of it I think is to, you're asking a lot I think a lot for out of people for $175 out of an omnibus. And the way that they have it mapped is that you only have the sections that like make, I guess, the most sense in terms of the event, and then having sort of like a companion with all the other issue zeros added on. Just how like throw all that in there. I think that's what DC wants people to do. But there's another case too, in that a lot of, I think, the nostalgia and the love that Zero Hour gets is because of Parallax Hal Jordan, which was a big thing that happened in the 1990s, and I don't think a lot of those issues are oddly like not in this omnibus, which I found super surprising. And so my question was, like, if DC wants to do like, you know, a 0 hour, which if for most people, if that's Hal Jordan as Parallax, getting to see him fully reign on in Coast City, why not just throw all that in there? Maybe this is just my disgruntling with the mapping of the omnibus, because personally, if I were to do it, I would have completely had different stuff thrown in there on top of the, you know, 0 hour Crisis in Time issues. But I do think that if DC wants to like give people a good experience of like, hey, like what were the zeros like, they should throw that in as a volume 3 at some point.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that all of them will most likely appear in their individual lines.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the issue zeros like Starman weren't direct tie-ins to 0 Hour. They just launched a new series.
That is true.
But they were all kind of one-off issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they were like, yes, they launched the new continuity moving forward, but I mean, it would be nice to see those issues in a 0 Hour collection, because that's what the point of 0 Hour was for. So let's see the result of 0 Hour a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Like the aftermath of it, which there's nothing wrong with that. And I was also asking myself that too, because like on DC Universe Infinite, which is how I read a lot of these series back like 4 or 5 years ago, it was like me trying to understand, like, why are we starting at issue 0 and not at issue 1? Because the only other issue 0 that I can think of, like, as comic book started out with, was a Flashpoint Beyond by Jeff Johns, Jeremy Adams, and a couple of other creators, or Manico on it. You know, that's few and far between. Like, people typically don't do that anymore. If they're going to do an issue 0, you call it an alpha, you do an annual, and then, or whatever, and then toss all the issues after. So yeah, it's I do want people to have a good experience with reading 0 Hour, because I do think that there is merit and value to understanding like how continuity was in the 90s and how different it is to DC nowadays. Like when I think of DC, I'm usually not thinking of 90s continuity as a basis. I know that a lot of people have a lot of love for the Kyle Rayner Green Lanterns and how Hal Jordan was a villain, Superman also being very popular in the 90s, and of course with the death and etc., right?
His blue costume, right?
His blue costume,
the most popular costume.
Most popular costumes indeed. So yeah, I also do, yes, Steve, I 100% agree with this. Yeah, 0 Hour was printed to see if people would buy it at a much cheaper price or point. $175 is a big ask. I have the 52 Omnibus there in the corner. That's $175, and asking people to fork over well over $125 for a big book is, I mean, that's a tall task for. I mean, wouldn't you rather spend it on something else that you could want instead? I know that a lot of collectors out there, but you know, not everybody is going to want to spend almost two $100 bills on some of these omnibuses.
But this is perfect, even especially when I see people are buying these on in-stock trades for like $17 or $18. So you're getting the full story for $40, about under $40.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
It is, and that's I saw that somebody said earlier, I can't remember which comment it was, saying that, like, you know, getting them at wholesale sites here in the U.S. has been nice, which has been giving more people an opportunity to buy some of these. And if that means more people are supporting the line and are getting these volumes, that means good things, hopefully, for this specific publishing initiative. I'm trying to think because I know that let's see if I can find the comment because I think Batcado asked if and Batcado asked earlier if they were gonna do the Crisis on Infinite Earths trade paper, like if they would they include all of the like the box sets that came out a couple of years, for example. Um, do you think that they would do a whole entire? Because that's a big event. You know, it wasn't tiny. It was literally every
Yeah.
single title that got affected by it, and and we got a completely brand new One Earth. You know, right after that, I mean, that's a big ask, right? That's a lot of volumes of DC Finest just based on the first Crisis.
If they do it, I think they should. I think that'd be great.
I would be too.
Double dipping, sure, but at this point, the amount of DC finest that we would need in order to cover all of the double dipping is like those will be years out. So
Mm-hmm.
sure, let's do it.
Throw it in. I actually would have been. I like to see like okay, like if they were gonna start off from Crisis, like how would you do it? Do it like the box sets, since those are out of print anyways.
Yeah.
And Crisis is very much a fundamental modern book to every single event that has happened right after. I mean, I think a lot of creators who are doing events nowadays owe it to Perez and Wolfman for introducing a line sprawling event with so many titles all jumped into one and getting something new out of it. Um, so yes, I completely agree. Um, yeah, with that, yeah, it's very interesting to see too, Tom, because a lot of people now love Kyle. Like I have so many friends. I kid you not. Want to see Kyle Rayner back into the spotlight with Hal Jordan as Parallax. Like I have one of my best friends saying that Hal Jordan was the best Green Lantern villain ever. Which in the '90s I feel like I would have been so interested to see like how fan reaction was at the time. And another case in point in trying to get one of these books to see how continuity was and you experiencing yourself through that different sense of a lens. And also too, I will say I love Jerry Ordway. I think that's actually, you know what, another positive for this book. I love Jerry Ordway's art, and him being the main artist for a lot of the 0 Hour issues was super cool to see as well. Um,
Yeah, he's a great artist and he still got it too. The company that I work for, Clover Press, just commissioned him to do a cover for us, which I can't tell you for what, but he still got it. He's really good.
That is awesome to hear. I love Jerry Ordway. Loved him on Shazam. Loved him. I love him on Superman. Don't care what he's on. I love his art. Um, but yes, I completely agree. Yeah, Atomic Count says I love the Crisis on Infinite Earths box set as well. But you probably wouldn't get the supplemental material like the memos and articles related to the event. Actually, you know what? That is a question I was going to ask you, Curtis. That's a good segue into my. Do you think that having additional material in the back help? Like, do you like these books not having much, or is it just the stories, or would you have liked to throw on whatever the 50 to 70 extra pages of material to see sketches or different articles or different text material as supplemental material for these books, or do you like them the way it is?
That's a great question. I'm of the opinion that it would be great to have everything, whether you look at it or not, because some people do look at it, and if you don't look at it, you just skip over it. Um, Now, when you're packing a book this full, bumping it up another 70 pages might push it into even the next price bracket. And so it's already really expensive as it is, so I don't think that we need to bump it up even more. You would need to sacrifice a couple of issues per book in order to get that stuff in. So ultimately, what I come for is the comics themselves. So if we have to not have the bonus stuff in there, then what the heck? Oh well.
No, it does happen, and yeah, I really would like to see some of that material because maybe in those Batman issues would have been cool to see, like what the letter pages were like, or what was also thrown in there in some of those old comics, or even an introduction or two. But I understand that like for like this type of book, they just want people to read the stories in them, and archive it, which is not a bad theory in and of itself. But having the extra material also does help when you're trying to understand the full picture and scope of it. Which actually, yeah, kind of brings me to the last one, which we don't have any extra material for, but we do have. But we were lucky, or you were lucky, I guess, able to see the mock-up of it, which is the as my microphone is getting hit. DC Finest Catwoman Lifelines by Joe Duffy, Jim Balent, Minnie Newell, J.J. Birch, and also Barry Kitson. Barry Kitson, I actually found interesting because I did not know that he had worked on Catwoman issues
Right.
before getting into this book. But I talked to our good friend Peter of CrushingCrisis.com, and I asked him, how the material was before I got into it. And he said that because he grew up with the material, he has a soft spot for it. Very much all in the case of fun. I was extremely surprised when I first read the Catwoman miniseries in the late 80s that they would publish this material out. And also, too, another thing that I noticed about these EC Finest that I didn't notice at first is that these don't have rating markers on them. Marvel has a T plus and mature rated system. DC has a softer one where it's either they have one for all ages, and then they have one for like teens and up, and then they have one for their mature readers. These don't have the ratings on them. And I read that first Catwoman series, and I'm just going to say it's a lot more provocative than
Then that's because that Catwoman miniseries is a follow-up to Batman Year One, right?
It is.
Where she was a prostitute.
Right.
And so it's going to explore a lot of those themes in there. Like I said, I haven't even looked in this book yet. I haven't even taken it out of its envelope because I had to leave for a vacation. But what I really like about this volume is it shows off a lot more of what DC Finest is hoping to accomplish, I think, with these lines. This character is one that didn't have an ongoing title for the longest time, so we are getting a good helping of different Catwoman stories from different issues over a period of time. And this is how I think DC Finest is going to collect a lot of these characters, like Robin, or like Peacemaker's another example. We saw the contents of that one, where they're drawing from a bunch of different places and putting it into one big collection. I think that's pretty cool.
It is very much. It is extremely cool, and the nice thing about this is too. Like, I know that I'm picking up everything from 1988 to 1944, and like you alluded earlier with the first miniseries, it very much is a continuation of Batman Year One and setting Selina Kyle in her post-crisis continuity, with Mindy Newell sort of having to figure out how do we shift her back into the feline Batman villain that a lot of people know her for, with the context added. And it very much felt like, man, like I get to see not only like, again, how like they shift the character, but this run also gets referenced multiple times in later runs that happen in post-crisis continuity, and also reintroduce, like, even like more recent runs like the 2018 run with Joel Jones and Ram V. They reference characters from that specific miniseries that had never been like put into before, into their books. And I was like, man, that is so cool that there's like this long streamline of Selina Kyle continuity bumps and also supporting characters that I had never known of before. So getting to experience that for the first time was awesome. And in the case of Jim Balent's and Joe Duffy's Catwoman, I will say that Joe Duffy is on the first 12 issues before she leaves the book. It's very interesting to see how they went away for, and even some bits too. Like I never knew that there were small pages like with text in the Jim
Oh, that's
Balin.
cool.
Yeah, in the Jim Balin issue for Night's End, and the continuity too, like with, and this is something that we'll find out later, right? With Nightfall and how they decide to map those events out. When you get to a certain year, books start tying in with each other, whether it's No Man's Land and the whole fabric of Gotham shaking, or if Batman gets his back broken and we have to deal with another character that becomes Batman that I don't want to spoil for the people in chat. It definitely is an interesting sight to see, and I hope they continue on with the Catwoman line. Obviously, we got Volume 2, which is
Yeah.
continuing on with this. Hopefully, they add the issue that was in those Jim Balin books. I know that there have been some people who are looking at that, so I hope that they continue along with Catwoman. Let me see. Let me see if we can answer some of, or look at some of the questions. I'll ever throw in here. Oh, here, look at this. How about an Art Jerry Ordway book from Clover, Kurtis?
That would be nice. That's not what we're doing with Jerry, but that would be an awesome thing to do for sure.
Would be. And I had some letters printed in the 80s, so I'm good at leaving the letter pages out of it. Oh my gosh. Let's see. I know I've never made it past the first issue of Catwoman, or which is it, the 1989 one? Oh, I see. 19. Okay, because I also find that interesting too. The interesting point that Dex brought up, because Catwoman Volume 1 is right during the 1989 phenomenon that I think rocked the pop culture world, and then 92 obviously had Selena in it with Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito as the Penguin, and that also coincided with the the second series that started up right around that time as well.
So the one shot that's in this book, what's it called? Catwoman
Defiant.
Triumphant? Defiance, yeah. Yeah, Catwoman Defiant, that one shot was made to kind of capitalize on the popularity, because there's a Penguin one shot that was produced at the same time, in the same sort of prestige format.
Mm.
I can't remember what that one's called, but yeah, both of them came out at the same time.
So yeah, if we get a Penguin DC Finest, maybe we could see that thrown in there. And maybe they'll, with the Reeves flicks and TV show spin-offs, maybe we could see at some point them doing that too. I would be interested to see, because DC has had volumes of like Batman Arkham Villains and highlighting some of their stories and one-shots in like thinner trade paperbacks. It would be interesting to see if they ever do a DC Finest one of like Hugo Strange, Poison Ivy, Mad Hatter, Clayface, throwing that all in there would be interesting to see. Yeah, still on the fence with Catwoman, since I've got a galley of this with different contents.
Yeah, Tom was the one that was able to get an early version of this at a convention that he was at, and shared with me some video. But yeah, it had like the first 20 issues of Catwoman and none of the stuff before that. So it was definitely not the real deal, which is probably why they gave it away for free at the end of the convention.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at least you got those 20 issues. If you don't care about that first miniseries, then there you go. Although you will be double dipping with the Catwoman volume that comes out
Right.
comes out
next year, indeedy. But yeah, lots of interesting things from people talking about Emerald Twilight and Hal Jordan becoming Parallax. And it would be nice to see, you know, that's another thing that I hope that they get in DC Finest too, whenever they get to Green Lantern. I hope that they jump around with the character, that we don't just stay in that Silver Age. You get to see some of those Bronze Age, Modern Age Green Lantern stories, and with Kyle Rayner being thrown in there as well, because they have started and stopped the Kyle Rayner line so many times.
Yeah.
And it is very... I would love to see them continue to pull along 90s material, so that we finally get 1990 to 2003 of Green Lantern collected. So yeah, I mean, interesting stuff to see. Like I don't put it past comic book fans. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
it's been such a very interesting time for Green Lantern. I'm very very surprised by how a lot of how people look back at the Green Lantern material. Um, but yeah, if anyone wants Kyle Rayner back, I think they should make him the new big GL villain. I think what I Jeremy Adams.
So people can experience the Hal Jordan hate that.
Oh my gosh. I know that Kyle Rayner has a super big role to play in next year's Green Lantern core by Jeremy Adams and Morgan Hampton crossover with the Fractured Spectrum. I don't know what it'll entail, but I'm very interested to see what they do. And who knows? Who knows, Phil? Maybe we'll get it. Maybe we will, and we'll have to see what happens there. How long until they start a new Finest line that will kick off with New 52, since they do not have those years mapped on the chart of the back of those books?
Hopefully at least 10 years. And then who knows?
Who knows, indeed. Because it took a while to get to the modern era Marvel Epic collections. And
Yeah.
I will also say, like, a lot of those, the Ultimate line, with Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Spidey, and I can't wait to see what Ultimates looks like, because I know that that one's coming on the forefront too. I can't wait to see what the designs for those look like, finished out, etc. Um, let's see. Yeah, hello, Ken. Hope good to see you. Happy holidays to you, friend. Hope you're doing well. Um,
The kind of
good to see you. Yeah, Batman 1989. I cannot imagine how big it must have been that year for literally every single person waiting for theater. I can't imagine like, because me the comparison I have is Infinity War and Endgame in 2018, 2019. That was the most hyped up I've like seen people talk about. I can't wait for this thing to drop, but to see Keaton back on the screen and to sort of return to not the Adam West type of Batman, but this dark brooding. I can't imagine what it would have been like in 1989, etc. But yes, if you guys want to enter and win yourself a free DC Finest collected edition, only in the US, unfortunately, type in hashtag Finest Batman, hashtag Finest Superman in the chat, and I will get around to it at the end of this thing. But I do want to look quickly at the books that we do have, because now that the streams are working and we do have this all set up, I want to go ahead and take a look at the January books that are coming out, if that is all good and dandy with the chat. Let's see if this thing is working. All right, I think it is. So we shall fade over to see what we do have. And the first one is Golden Age Aquaman, from years 56 to 62, collecting Adventure Comics 229, 280, 282, 284, Action 272, Detective 293 to 300, World's Finest 125, Showcase 30 to 33, Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane 12, and Aquaman 1 through 3.
You've got an infinite mirror going on
I
there.
do, and I do gotta fix that. I do apologize.
So this volume, from what I understand, is stuff that hasn't been collected yet, maybe in color. There probably was a showcase for it, but for those people who want just stuff that hasn't been reprinted yet, I think this is the volume that people are looking forward to.
Okay.
I've never had a really big connection with Aquaman. I remember the old Filmation show. I bought that DVD set, and it's so hokey. And I think a lot of the comics, I'm afraid that the comics will be like that as well, but I really shouldn't. I do really, really like Ramona Fradon's artwork, so um, this should be a treat when it comes out. I've got my pre-order in on it already.
This should be. And from what I also understand, this Aquaman is also a completely different character than the Arthur Curry / Orin interpretation that we've had since 1994. So that is going to be interesting to see, like, how this Aquaman shapes up in comparison to the Aquaman that we have nowadays, right? Phil. um,
Whoa.
oh
Brutal.
my, that
Brutal,
is
Phil. Brutal.
wow. That is it's big. But yes, don't worry. Kurtis is back. I fixed it. I just needed to move Kurtis over to the right so we don't have an overlay of me and the screen at the same time. Um, but yes, yeah, Ramona Freydon is a gem, and she's getting some modern love to this and Metamorpho. And by the way, if you guys haven't yet and are reading modern comics, I do encourage y'all to pick up Steve Lieber and Al Ewing's Metamorpho, the Element Man issue #1, which dropped this week. I loved it. So, and we're getting that in the finest soon too. So, yeah, very. Uh, yeah, who knows? Let's see. First Silver Age Aquaman stories. Um, for sure. Glad to hear it's stuff that's never been collected. Um, and let's see. Yeah, excited for Aquaman. Don't believe he got an he never got an archive from what I remember. So, yeah, backup stories in the Silver Age were completely underrated. So this is stuff that I can't wait to get into as well. Will the Legion of Superheroes line collect all the miniseries that are collected in the 5 years later Omnibus volumes, or just the Legionnaires issues? I imagine they just reprint the omnibuses if they have the mapping at that point. But I also don't know if 5 years later is going to be the Legion that we're going to get. I don't know where they're going to jump around to, but I hope it's something before 1989 and something after 1974. That's my hope with Legion. Matt, hope your family is doing well, man. Happy holidays to you. Don't think there was an Aquaman Silver Age years ago when it got Flash, Green Lantern, jail. I don't believe so, Kurtis. I've never seen this before, so nice that they're starting out with this.
There you go. Yeah.
And yeah, that Filmation show was even worse than the '60s Batman live-action TV series. Indeedy. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next bit, and that is Supergirl, the Girl of Steel. One of my more anticipated ones. This is coming out on the 14th of January, 2025. Action Comics 252, 288, Adventure Comics 278, Superman 139, 140, 144, Superboy 80, Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane 14 and 20, and Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen 40, 46, 51 through 57.
I'm looking forward to this one too, just because I like the character and I've liked what I've read in the few Legion stories that she pops up in as well. So yeah, I mean, looks like a good group. I like Otto Binder from the stuff I've read from Captain Marvel as well. So this should be a lot of fun.
That should be a lot of fun indeed, 100%. And I've never read the Supergirl material as well, and I love Kara as a character. So this is something that I just want to cross off the list, and hopefully we can get some more in the future. And then we do have Green Arrow, the Longbow Hunters. I apologize for the people who don't have the TBA contest, but we do have Green Arrow 1988 issues 1 through 8 and annual #1, Detective Comics annual #1 from 1988, Question 17 through 18, and annual #1, along with Longbow Hunters miniseries issues 1 through 3.
Out of the three, this is the one I'm looking forward to the most. I really like Mike Grell, and I think that this is going to be a great book. I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Longbow Hunters is amazing. It's what every Green Arrow book I think should inspire itself to be. And I think we owe a lot to Grell for imprinting Oliver Queen in the minds of many for this specific miniseries and also run. Let's see. 5 years later, maybe the Legion we get, but it wasn't the Legion we deserve. Matt, thank you, Dom. Hope you and Kurtis have had a great day. Merry Christmas to you too, man. Hope you're doing well.
Thanks.
I want Levitz and Wade most of all. Do you think the 5 years? Yeah. I'll be updated, but yeah, I imagine if they just have the omnibus mapping, that's what they'll probably do. Just because of the DC Finest 0 Hour events one just being the same mapping as the omnibus. I can't imagine that they shake up too much there, but we will see. We have seen different mapping with DC before. So yeah, wondering if Supergirl's Legion stuff. I think it probably will be. I anticipate that her Legion appearances or appearances with Legion, I should say, will also be tossed in there. Um, Let me see. There was an archive edition for Aquaman. Interesting. I don't think I've seen it before. Um, Mike Rell did he did do a great job on Longbow Hunters. Is that the one where Oliver Queen is in Green Arrow and there are no superheroes or supervillains? Yeah, it's a different
Oh,
status. Yeah, you're gonna
that sounds
love.
awesome.
Yeah, you're gonna love it, Curtis. Um, Dom, you should do a live show like the Evergreen Show and DC Finest Collection. I mean, that's why I got Curtis on every single Friday, every single last Friday of the month. I think because there are only 3 of these DC Finest that are coming out next month, that's going to give us more opportunity to talk about speculation. And I'll figure out something about the poll. I think that would be a fun idea for y'all to have. We can promote it, and we'll figure out where to go from there. So definitely excited for that. There'd just be a lot of time for me, but I'm on break at the moment, so I'll figure a way to throw it in there. Yeah, so hoping people excited for GA. Yeah, this'll have Longbow Hunters one. This'll have that specific miniseries in there. The Longbow, like, it's not the entire status quo. You can get the status quo in the 2 big Green Arrow Omnis, but it is definitely one to pick up. Yeah, 100%, 100% on that as well. But yeah, Curtis, before we get into the giveaway winners, as no, the intro should not be playing. My gosh, I apologize for that. All right, so as far as this is concerned, what would you say of the 10 DC Finest editions is your favorite that has come out so far?
Batman for sure. Yeah, that's so far that's the only one I've completed to like 100%. I haven't read through all of them all the way yet, but that one is the one that has inspired me to keep reading the most. It's really solid. I love it. Follow-ups. I have to remember which DC Finest were released. Follow-ups might be Flash. I'm really enjoying Legion of Superheroes, and what else is there? Maybe even Justice Society.
JSA?
I'm surprised at how much I like that one. There you
Okay.
go.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff from those 10. Yeah, I think Batman takes the number 1 spot for me just because of, like, almost all the material in there I enjoyed. Even the bits and parts too. Maybe we'll have some other talk in the future where we talk about year 2. I know that's not everyone's favorite, but I think there were some story elements in there that I enjoyed, even if the execution of it I think wasn't up to the standard as a year 1. But I'm still blown away by Max Allan Collins' Batman. That's still the biggest surprise for me, because I did not anticipate myself loving those issues as much as I did. But he's an incredibly skilled writer, and I'm really glad that
Sure is.
it showed in that finest volume. As far as the other ones are concerned, yeah, Flash would have to be my biggest surprise, because again, like, I'm not the biggest reader of Gold and Silver Age comics, just because I didn't grow up with those, and a lot of people have told me to stray away from them and read some more modern age stuff. But because of the finest stuff and getting to talk with you, I've gotten a lot more exposed to a lot of the older material, and Flash was, like we said last month, just a book I fell in love with. I could not have anticipated falling for the Speedster and all the Rogues Gallery and the different adventures that he's knocked up in and punched in. But man, it's very, very enjoyable stuff. And
Yeah, it really is.
yeah, I did not anticipate that at all. But yes, I am going to see if I can move and figure out how to do this big giveaway. So give me a second, guys, to throw it in there. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And just make sure you are subscribed to Dom of X, and also tell your friends about the channel, about the show that Curtis and I do. We find these fun. So yes, we are very happy to have you guys all under here. So let me see if I can adjust the window.
And last chance, if you want to enter this contest for this
Mm-hmm.
giveaway, use the hashtag finest Batman and finest Superman for the volume that you are hoping to win. Just here in the chat, right? You're just
Yes, here
that's
in the
all you're
chat.
doing?
That's all you're doing?
Just here in the chat.
Just here in the
I see a
chat.
bunch of people are doing it already. If you want to win a copy, this is unfortunately only open to U.S. residents because of postage, the exorbitant price of postage shipping internationally. So, um, it is available for U.S. only. Hashtag finest Batman for Batman Year One and Year Two, and hashtag finest Superman for Superman, the first superhero.
Super here indeed.
Two really excellent volumes. Phil Owen said not the original Superman. Like he was questioning why I didn't have that one in my top, and like I still really enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I've enjoyed all of these books, but you know, some are definitely higher than the others. But it doesn't mean that I hated it. That's for sure. I think I'm getting sick. Like my nose has been running the whole time.
This is.
Sorry, people,
Oh no.
for having to
We think.
watch me do that this entire time.
Yeah, we want to thank Kurtis for being able to join me on this wonderful adventure. Would not have been able to do this without him. Honestly, I'm surprised that I haven't gotten sick yet. I think that's been the one biggest thing this holiday Christmas season that I have had the luxury of not having. I know that for a lot of like I don't know. Usually during this time, I always like it's always cough, like always like this rash cough that's there for 2 weeks. I experienced it last year. So far this
Yeah.
year, nothing yet.
Well, good.
So let me see if the filter is working, because for whatever reason, YouTube won't let, or these giveaway things won't let me.
I like Karsten's comment here. You don't have to put it up. Karsten says, my problem with Barry Allen's Rogues Gallery is that most of them shouldn't have the slightest chance against a speedster who actually uses his speed. And yeah, I mean, part of the comic book writing is to contrive your way into those situations and out of those situations. Um, but what I liked about his Rogue Gallery is that they chose people who specifically work against speed. Like you think of Captain Cold, that slows down, metabolism. It slows down growth rate. It slows down everything. It slows down speed. And so to have a villain that fights against speed like that is really cool. And same with time. A lot of his villains are time based. And so when you can slow down time or stop time or that kind of stuff, it counters speed. So I think they, John Broome or Julie Schwartz, whoever was making up these characters, was really clever with the types of villains that they were throwing against Flash.
For sure, for sure.
Did you get it working?
I am still working on the hashtags. The filters are not exactly the most fun to do. Because StreamYard has a thing set up where you can pick out any random comment. I have to use an external on top of the external, which is what is getting to me at the moment. Oh,
I think this is the type of thing that maybe you could do in a different video, or if you can't get it figured out today,
oh no, this is
or maybe
I
just
got
announce the winner online. Oh, you got it. Okay.
okay. So
Good.
let's see. I have just gotta figure out how to. Gosh, dang it. Share. Are there any other exciting comments in the chat that you are seeing, Kurtis? I guess to keep them occupied. We will probably just get this up.
Well, Tom counters and says some would say that Flash's Rogues Gallery would have to be more clever to counter super speed. So there you go. They certainly work together, and it works just fine in the context of the stories that are written in this collection, at least. It's really quite fantastic.
For sure.
Let's see, what else are people saying? Looking forward to when Alan Moore's Green Lantern stories are collected in the Finest line. I did not know that Alan Moore wrote Green Lantern, but that's pretty cool. Um, Ryan says Alan Moore only had like one Green Lantern issue and a few backups, so maybe they'll all be one volume. That'd be good. Even just one issue by Alan Moore seems to be pretty good. I think I said this in the last stream. My favorite issue of the Batman DC Finest was actually the one written by Alan Moore about Clayface in a department store. I thought that was such a good story.
Mm.
Um, it's it was just so great. And I have a love-hate relationship with Alan Moore. Some of the stuff I really love, and some of it I just can't stand. But his superhero stuff usually hits on all levels. Carson says, I know what you mean, Kurtis, but someone like Captain Cold shouldn't actually even have the time to use his cold gun when confronting the speedster. They'd need time to activate their gimmicks. Yeah, that's very true. You're absolutely right. Uh, in theory, Flash should be faster than all of it, but when you have someone, you have to impose certain limitations and play with that kind of stuff. And like the same thing could be said with Superman. Superman should really be able to stop any crisis that's happening because he's got every single power set that you could need, but you have to place those limitations on your characters in order to make the story compelling. Otherwise, you know, who cares if Flash beats the villain in one panel every single issue? That's not good storytelling. That's bad writing. So there you go. Uh, One of Alan Moore's best is the Green Lantern Corps story, Mogo Doesn't Socialize. I don't know if that's true or not.
That's
Uh,
another one that I actually hope that they put out in DC Finest at some point. Because yeah, a lot of Alan Moore's Green Lantern stuff is not particularly well collected, which I do find interesting. Uh, oh, YouTube. If only you could work with me in the way that I'd like it to. Oh my gosh.
well, it's technology. The thing is trying to figure it out for the first time. And then after you figure it out, it's like, oh yeah, now I know how to do
Right.
this more appropriately or, more efficiently, I mean.
It is. James, do you
Yeah.
have James, I know that you're in the chat. I know that you could help out with are there any external giveaway YouTube ones that cuz I'm trying to work it with this one site that I used for my regular my 1000 subscribers giveaway video and it works super well. But the thing is I think it only works for like regular videos and not live streams and I'd have to wait for it to figure that out. So that is the problem. Uh, let's see. I know there I can find a comment picker at some point. Um, let's see. Hmm. You don't
You know
know?
what I always found funny about, we're speaking about Flash still, because everybody in the comment is still talking about Flash. Um, I remember, so I loved Smallville. I thought it was great. And anytime Clark used his super speed, they'd always portray it as if he were moving at normal speed, but the
Mm-hmm.
world around him is going super fast, right?
Right.
And so it's like for him, it's just normal.
Hmm.
And then one time he like has to read through like a 500-page textbook or a manual or something, and he goes like, and he's done like in 1 second. But to me, it'd be like, well, based on the other times he uses his super speed, when we see from his point of view, it looks like he's moving in regular time. So he still has to read that it's like he's reading a boring 500-page textbook at normal speed. It's like that just doesn't sound fun. It doesn't matter how fast you can go, you still have to read such a dull book. Anyway, that's just my random thought here as we're trying to stall for time. Um,
Try as free. Huh. So I found a YouTube thing. It's called Simpliers giveaway, where it's a free comment YouTube comment picker, um, and I'm trying to get it. Continue as try as free. Select all, yeah, but I'm trying. Hold on. You know what? Let me show the people what I am currently dealing with to give them a sense of what I'm running in. Okay, I know our faces are covered, but yes, here we go. Okay, so this is the comment picker that I am trying to figure out from. It's from a free YouTube comment picker. Create free YouTube giveaways with all your comments. Trying to press is free. It selects only base features, but there's no like next, and everything down is okay. Wait, is it make giveaway now? See, for one giveaway
It's
only.
a scam.
It's a scam, guys.
I don't know.
Uh,
Who knows?
let's see. Links, rules. Trying to do that. Yes, I got the credit, making a little preparation. And then as soon as you get there, you get this. I am just tempted, and I apologize for this, guys, just to have James pick out one comment, but I don't want it to be based on a user. I want it to be drawn into the hat. Actually, you know what? James, if you are here at the moment, is there, I know this is a big ask, my friend, but is there any way that you could see all the people who commented hashtag finest Batman, hashtag finest? I know that it's a long 2 hours, but is there any way that you could do it in a quick sense? And then I can just drop that in, randomize it, and then we could call it a day. Um, I apologize for all this, guys, and I apologize to you too, Kurtis. This is completely new to me, um, and everything else. Should we should we call Brain? We should call Brainiac 5. I feel like
Brainy can do it.
Brainy can. I unfortunately, I wish I had that type of technology. A question: what other Supergirl titles do you want to see from DC Finest? Peter David's run. I think that's the biggest one because I never finished it. Um, yes, Control. Yes, I can do that. Um, let's see if I can do the thing that they are asking me to do. Um, this is gonna be a long one. Finest. Yeah, these are some days where I'm like, man, I really wish I had a. Because
Steam.
yes, but also StreamYard does have a giveaway thing, right? With their own platform.
Oh, do they?
I think they
Oh,
do.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I think that's how Omar has it set. I could call Omar and ask him to pick out or how he does it. Um, this is so annoying, guys. I am so sorry.
So it looks like they've settled into a 3 per month schedule now.
Okay.
The first 2 months of this run have been 5 releases, I think, just to kind of get the whole line kickstarted. So we got 5 releases um, in November and 5 releases this month. But then moving forward now is 3 per month, which I think is manageable if you're collecting all the lines.
That's
I
right.
mean, that also depends on if you're what other stuff you're collecting on top of that, of course. But 3 releases per month is not unreasonable, especially if you're some of the lucky Americans who are getting them for like $18 a pop. I think there's no real reason to not jump on that if you can afford it. Along with Longbow Hunters, I'm also really looking forward to Teen Titans, Plastic Man, Harley Quinn, and what else is there? Um,
Peacemaker.
Doom Patrol.
I know Metamorpho's coming out next year. Plastic Man's coming out next year too. Like
Plastic Man, I'm really looking forward. I love the cartoony stuff. I really love the cartoony stuff, so I'm really looking forward to Plastic Man. Um, I want there to be a Shazam DC Finest because I like that character. Phil says, so if you could pick three you'd like to see for the next month, what would you like to try? Pick three you'd like to see for the next month. Like any three that have already been published or already been announced, or just three in general. If I could just take three for next month and make my own schedule, I would choose Plastic Man, um, the follow-up, I guess probably the Killing Joke, the follow-up Batman one, and Teen Titans. Those would be the three that I would pick for if I were to just make my own schedule. That would be great.
That would be a good one to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, Detective Chimp. Someone wants a Detective Chimp DC Finest. Alexander says
that would
that.
be fun to do.
From that would be fun. Yeah. I'm all board. I'm on board with getting some of the obscure or funny humorous stuff. Um, I of course Batman and Superman are always going to be welcome, but I enjoy when comics get to be a little bit offbeat.
Yeah, I agree.
Carson says he wants to see Batgirl. Um, wouldn't mind the Terrifics or Adam Strange. Those are some pretty obscure ones. That's good. Logan, what Harley
Hey,
Quinn book is coming? It's going to be her first volume that collects a bunch of her first appearances plus the first few issues of her first ongoing series.
I actually might have done it, Curtis.
You guys work?
I finally found it. I did it. I did it. Let me see if I can
Okay,
do the thing. This will
bring it
exclude.
on.
All right. Let's see if I can cut. So this is a chat thingy called Nightbot, which is I'm trying to see keyword giveaway. Finest Batman done. Copy all eligible entries. Send a winner containing. All right, fellas. I apologize if you are in this chat and not in it. Type in finest hashtag finest Batman to enter the giveaway. Should have had this running for the first, but you learn quickly. So if you have typed it in before, um, type it in again. I apologize, guys.
Oh, it's not picking up on stuff that's already been.
Apparently not. No, which is weird. Trying to see if I can. Let's see.
Well, yeah, that's not particularly fair to the people
It's
who
not.
have may already left the stream.
Yeah, it isn't. I might
So
just do
I
this
think
next time.
I think might what you should do is we should end the stream and then we'll have to tally all the
Mhm.
people, like go through the comments and write them all down,
It
and
is.
then
Yep.
do a different giveaway.
Let's see. JR, Nightbot, Garf. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do, guys. Because I wish that everybody was. I feel like I have to apologize with every single one of these streams. I am trying to get a hold of this front, y'all, but I promise. I promise at some point, we will get this all underway. Um, and then figure it out, and then I'll make a different. Well, I'll announce the winners next month. Um, yeah, as an apology note. Nightbot, I guess, is running in. So yes, guys, I apologize for all this, but I will figure all this out. I will tally up. I'll work with James closely to tally up all the winners, and we will announce the giveaway winners then. 'Cause I want it to be fair for everybody, and also give a live sort of support for all of those who have joined us. But I would like to thank everybody here who joined with me for this. It feels like every single mess who everyone who's joined this mess is a. I appreciate all of you. I don't know if I have the words to enunciate, but you guys being here and showing up and supporting through the holiday season and through this weird time, I guess, for me and my live streaming, as I try to continue to craft it. It means the world to me that you guys will hang out 2 hours plus to you consider so. And I promise I will get this all figured out. Seems like I gotta do a little bit of research and everything else beforehand. But I will have it running and up ASAP. And I also like to thank Kurtis for toiling me through all of these troubles as
It happens. This is what happens with technology. There's no getting around it, and you never know what's going to happen. It could be problem free, or it could be a disaster. It's you never know. So, but we got through it, and everybody in the chat is really nice. You were all very nice about it, and we appreciate that so much. We love this community. We love all of you. Um, yeah,
everyone do hit like on the way out.
yes, please. Yep, like this video, subscribe. That'll help Dom out a huge deal. James is putting a bunch of links in the chat there, so you'll be able to see our different social medias and whatnot, or web pages. So check those out. We appreciate all of your support in all of our endeavors.
No, we do. And we also want to give a quick big shout out to the Facebook group for the DC Finest discussion and debates and everything else. James, if you can link that, that would be awesome. As well, you can also follow Kurtis at the Epic Marvel Podcast and the Finest DC channel, where he does everything cool with all of the thick tome of trade paperbacks out, which also includes his copy of Legion of Superheroes. Sap goes the
This is
Legion.
your assignment this week. Everybody needs to read some Legion of Superheroes.
Everybody does indeed need to read that as well. Here are the links. Kurtis's Finest DC channel. Thank you guys. Have a great day as well, and yes, feel better as well, Kurtis. From Phil. I will get all of the comments out for the Finest Batman, Finest Superman. I'll work with James to get a tally on that, as he has been super helpful as the producer on all of these things comic related in our Omnibus slash big collection community. So big thank you guys.
You're great, James.
Thank you as well. And everybody's comment, who has commented hashtag Finest Batman or hashtag Finest Superman in this chat, they will all be counted. I promise you that, and we will announce the winners next month for fairness for everybody in the stream who was live and was here with us, guys. But that is all. Have a wonderful day. Have a happy new year. We hope to see you in 2025 with a lot of big things coming in and more discussion and speculation too. So have a good one, everybody.